Ahead, and we'll get the meeting started. Call the meeting to order. That was loud. I'll start with a roll call. McKee here. Lanterman is possibly going to be late. Possibly not able to make it. His son is graduating from 8th grade today, I think. So congratulations to one of the many, many marks. And then Friedrich.
Here.
Varenkamp.
Here.
Nichols.
Also here.
Alrighty. I'd like to stand and pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda approval. Alicia, you had mentioned a couple small tweaks.
Correct. So, Mr. Mayor, item 4B was added. Item 6C was updated. Item 6F on the previous agenda, which was the fee schedule amendment, that has been moved to the June 25th City Council meeting. And item 8A has been updated, and then item 13A has also been updated.
All right. Anything from council? And I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Yes. All right. Presentations. We have two with the added one. First one is community survey results.
Yep. So, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, we have Scott from Community Perceptions online here. He will be presenting the survey results for the civic campus.
All right.
All right, can you all hear me?
Yes, you
Yes.
can.
Wonderful. All right, let me share my screen here. Thank you so much for having me with you tonight. So my name is Scott Gerard, and I am a project manager with Community Perceptions. Had the
Hold on one second. I think we messed up our audio. Not this one.
Try that again.
Hello, my name is Scott Gerard. Am I coming through clear?
We can hear you, but just barely. Let's try now.
How's this?
There it is.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for figuring out the tech on your end. Appreciate that. I had the pleasure of working on your survey project, so excited to be here tonight to share the results. So a little reminder about who we at Community Perceptions are. We've been doing this sort of work since 2002, and we've helped more than 1,300 communities navigate strategic planning and referendum planning processes. Your survey had a May 8th deadline, so about 3 weeks ago. We did have a couple trickle in through the mail over the past week, but this number is updated as of this morning. So we're at 727 respondents, and that's good for a 19.6% response rate. Our average is in the 16 to 18%, so you all outpaced the average response rate, and almost got to that 20%. If we wanted to be friendly with rounding, we could have done it, but we like to be as accurate as possible. But that 19.6% rate is really strong, so we were really happy to see that.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Could I ask just a really quick question?
Sure.
Can you explain what a response rate is? Is that a percentage of our population, or what is the response rate? How do you define
It's a
that?
percentage. Yeah, no, great question. It's the percentage of responses based on the number of surveys sent out, and that we sent one per household.
Okay, and how many households?
Hold on, I will have to double check the total number that we sent out. Just 1 second here.
5 times. Kevin, did I do the math right? Close. All right. A little bit more than 5 times.
It was about 30, a little over 3,700 households. Over 3,700 surveys sent out.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. So given that number of respondents, we do have a 3.71% margin of error. That's just a function of the size of your community and the number of respondents, but a good number to keep in mind as we go through the results here. So we'll get into who took your survey. So the overwhelming leader in terms of age was 65 plus. Now, not surprisingly, that is an overrepresentation of your community, but those are also folks who, if do tend to vote if there's ever anything in an election. So it is very important to hear from them. As we go down the age groups, 55 to 64, 19% of survey respondents, which is a little overrepresentation of the voting age population. 45 to 54, it's actually a pretty good representation of your voting age population. Then the group that was the biggest underrepresentation, sort of the flip side, was those 35 to 44-year-olds. But we'll do some breakdowns as we go through the results, and you'll see that there's some consistency among age groups that kind of takes away the concern there at all. 25 to 34 and 18 to 24, your two smallest groups responding to the surveys. That's very typical for our surveys, and so we're not ever surprised to see sort of single-digit numbers with those two groups. 95% of your respondents are owners, 5% are renters. When we look at which precinct
Sorry,
folks
I have a
live in-
question, I think for Natalie. 5% renters, does that align with the number of rental licenses that we have?
Not necessarily, but keep in mind that we don't do rental licenses for homestead relatives, so they may be that they don't own the property, but they are a relative of someone who owns the property, so we don't charge them that. So.
Go right ahead.
All right, so among precincts, a third of respondents live in precinct 1, 26% of respondents live in precinct 2, and 41% of respondents live in precinct 3. So precinct 3 leading the way there, but more than a quarter of respondents from each of the precincts, so solid representation from all areas of the city there. Another way we looked at this was what school district folks live in. The leader there was Buffalo, Hanover, Montrose at 32%, followed closely by Rockford at 31% of respondents. Osseo and Wayzata, 17 and 15%, and then finally Delano down at 5%, but representation from all 5 school districts within the city. We asked an information question, and this can be useful both for communicating about this project and just communicating in general. 71% of respondents prefer to hear from the city via mailed newsletter. I would say that's a trend we're seeing, especially among that 65 plus group on our surveys. So given their size in the survey, it's not surprising to see that here, but it is certainly leading the way by a substantial margin. Additionally, in second place was emails at 40%. So that's kind of the secondary way in the way that folks would like to hear from you electronically. And then you have the website and online newsletters, similar to emails there, electronic communications, and then everything else is in the single digits. So this is a reminder of some of the information that was presented in the survey. So we outlined the current facility challenges. That includes lack of space, some inadequate safety and security issues, and some aging infrastructure. And we explained that the city cannot feasibly expand the current facility, and so therefore investing in it would not be a responsible use of taxpayer dollars, and explained that the city is proposing building a new facility on City Center Drive. We then asked a question, and this question didn't have any costs associated with it, didn't have detailed plans associated with it. We're trying to just test the concept here. So we asked, would you support the city building a new City Hall and Police Department facility? 56% of respondents said yes. So a majority of respondents, and key here, not only above 50%, but outside that margin of error, said yes. They would support the city building a new City Hall and Police Department facility. 24% said no, and just behind that, 1/5 of your respondents were not sure.
Could I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So at any point, was it ever discussed, or is there, how can I say this? Let's see. I'm wondering if you asked me just a point blank question, would I support something? If I assumed that the city was going to pay for it, I would support it, because that would be from my tax dollars. But if I knew that there was going to be a tax increase because of something, Was that specified in the survey or explained to some extent?
So we do define the overall cost of the project in a later question.
Okay.
Yes, we do outline the total cost of the project. So that, yeah, that's coming, and you'll see the data on that here in a few slides.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get to that, we did break down the response to this question by a few different of those respondent information pieces, just to look at, again, are there certain demographics that jump out as having differences in support or opposition or things like that. As you can see here, a majority of all age groups in the survey would support building a new City Hall and Police Department facility, the concept and idea of that. Highest support is in the 25 to 34 and 65 plus groups, but there are majorities within those three middle age groups, and certainly they well outpace the folks who said no, right? And then there's the remainder in the not sure camp, but over 50% for all age groups. When we look at by precinct, Precinct 2 has the highest level of support, with 2/3 of respondents who lived in Precinct 2 saying yes, they would support this. 58% of respondents who lived in Precinct 3 were in support, and 49% in Precinct 1. So Precinct 1 certainly lagging behind the other two, but still within that margin for error of a majority here, and still the yes is well ahead of the no's, with just a bit higher not sure's in that precinct as well. Finally, we broke this down by school district. As you can see, Buffalo, Hanover, Montrose, and Delano, both at 47%, so just underneath that 50% threshold, within the margin of error, because that was 3.7%. So right there, and again, both of those yeses outpacing the no's. Then when you look at Osseo, Rockford, and Wayzata, you do have 60, so 3/5 or more in each of those districts supporting the new City Hall and Police Department facility concept. We then did outline the recommended plan, so we shared a few more details about the city's planning, why the site fits the long-range plan, and some of the features of the new building. And then we explained that there were two approaches to build the new facility to meet the space needs. Option 1 was to meet the space needs for 10 years and expand in the future. Costs were estimated using some construction growth costs of 4% each year. Option 2 would meet space needs for 20 years, and we shared how that total cost would be covered right now. We explained that since 2018, the city has been planning to issue a bond to pay for the project, and that the city is exploring other funding sources to reduce the impact on taxpayers. We then asked which approach should the city take to building a new City Hall and Police Department facility. Option 1, which was the meet space needs for 10 years and expand later, 23% of folks said option 1. 36%, so the highest amount, said option 2, meeting the space needs for 20 years. Another 15% said either approach. And then about a quarter of respondents responded not sure. So what we're doing on the next slide is I'm adding those folks who said either to both option 1 and option 2, just to show sort of the total support for those two plans. Option 2 gets you to that 50% threshold with 51% support when you combine the folks who responded option 2 with the folks who responded either. Option 1 and the folks who said either is at 38%, and the not sures are at 26% still. Once again, breaking it down by some of those same groups, what you see here is every age group does support option 2 over option 1. The closest is the 45 to 54 age group, with just a 4 percentage point gap from 47 to 43, but they still do favor that option 2. And just so you know, on these slides, the numbers as you go across won't add up to 100 because we added that either proportion to both options 1 and options 2. So that's why they don't add up if you're counting across there. But again, each age group supports option 2 over option 1. The middle three age groups, 35 to 44, 45 to 54, and 55 to 64, have a bit higher proportion of not sures than the other groups. When we look by precinct, again, each precinct supports option 2 ahead of option 1. Precinct 1 had the highest percentage of not sures here. And by school district, once again, every school district supports option 2 over option 1. The closest district here is Buffalo, Hanover, Montrose, and they still have a 7 percentage point gap, and do also have a third of respondents from that district being not sure. We also asked on the survey about the future of the current building and how it should be used. And so we looked through those comments, and there were really 2 paths that kind of jumped out as common suggestions. One is interest in repurposing the building for community use. There were a lot of different suggestions of how that could look. Community center for meetings or event rentals, a senior center, rec space for youth and families, but about half of respondents there were interested in that path. The other half were interested in selling the building to an outside entity, which they hoped would generate revenue and offset the costs of a new facility to taxpayers. We asked sort of an overall satisfaction question. On a scale of 0 to 10, how likely would you be to recommend the city to a friend or family member? Your overall score on a 0 to 10 scale, 5 is neutral in the middle, and the city's score is at a 6.81, so nearing kind of that top third of the bars. And what's really good news here too is our eyes immediately go to kind of the 8 through 10 range. Those are the folks who are really excited to live there, and will tell people how happy they are to live there. And when you add those up, 50% of your respondents are in that 8 to 10 range. So they're out there really excited. When someone brings up maybe buying a new house, they're going to tell them, oh, well, you should definitely look in the city. So good news there that about half your respondents are in that really excited group. So in summary, what did we learn? A majority of respondents support building a new city hall and police station. And a majority of respondents prefer option 2, which is meeting needs for 20 years, to option 1, which is meeting needs for 10 years. That is the preferred option for respondents in all age groups, precincts, and school districts. And that's the end of my presentation, but I'd certainly be happy to take questions.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? A lot of good data. I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you all so much. Appreciate your time tonight. Have a great rest of your meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Then on to 6B, which is City Council and Commission Records Online Access.
Or B.
There's 4. Yeah, 4. Numbers are hard. 4.
So, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, admin staff have been working diligently to get the public archives web link up and running. So what does that really mean? I'll just show you because they can't really explain it. So members of the public are able to now look at past commission and council packets, resolutions, ordinances on their own without, having to submit a data request or contacting staff. It's a lot more efficient this way. So if you go look on our website under Our Government, we have scroll down to Council, and then you click on Archives, you get brought to this page. So you'll be able to look at.
Finally ready.
Very
Yes,
cool.
it's finally ready.
I've been wanting this for so long.
So you can look at agenda packets. We have them through 2010. We're continuously trying to scan in and upload, get all of those records in. You can look at minutes, ordinances, resolutions for council. You can search. I won't search right now because it takes a little bit to search through all those records we do have up. And then again, if you go under commissions, look at archives. Again, you can look at charter, parks and trails, planning. You click into which one you'd like to view, and then the records are there. So, yeah, pretty exciting. Any questions?
Very exciting. Great
Awesome
work.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that'll be huge for commissioners, council, staff, public. I know in Medina, it's a similar system of what I thought of this idea as something we should do. Just kind of based off of that, you can get anything on it. And as we build it out over time, it'll be a fantastic place instead of having to, hey Deb, do you have that record from 2024 and it's, 2038 and either be in a box somewhere or right there. So.
Yeah, so pretty exciting. This is just kind of the first step. We are looking at adding, I think, Natalie, eventually building permits. We're kind of waiting, but essentially.
The infrastructure's there, that's easier to add to it, so.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
One kind of pseudo-related question, how are we on, Munico?
That will be at the next meeting.
We just got a link this morning to the online
I'm
code.
so excited.
So,
Great job.
We're trying to check things off before I go. So.
Thank you, I'm very excited about both of those, alrighty. On to open forum. For items not on tonight's agenda, if anyone would like to speak, now is the time, and Alicia can.
Yeah, so, ladies and gentlemen, this is an opportunity where you can step forward and speak to the council about something not on an agenda. Council will receive the feedback at this time, but there will be no dialogue or action taken, and I have not received any comment cards right now.
Okay, then we will move on to consent agenda. We have a consent agenda consisting of items 6A through 6G. Does anyone want to pull anything?
I'd like to pull 6C.
Okay.
I would like to pull G.
C, Michelle, not E, C, and 6G, Jeremy. Okay, anything else? And I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items A, B, D, E, and F.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Passes unanimously. On to 6C, Michelle.
So I pulled 6C because I think it's worth having a little bit of a discussion about this because it's very exciting. And so that's basically why I pulled it. And I think I would like staff to explain what it is because it's pretty, as my other job, it's fantastic what Hennepin County and the state is allowing cities to make a choice in doing for elections.
so Mayor and Council, the legislature just passed some legislation letting cities determine whether they can have early voting at the 46-day mark when we do the absentee with the envelopes and all those great things, or choose to do an 18-day early voting when they're coming in and they're voting with a ballot and putting it into the tabulator. So that's exciting because we looked at our numbers and decided that we don't get a very big number of voters in that early with that early
That 19
stage.
to 46.
Right, right. So, going to the 18 days with the early voting in person here is the way to go. Staff can still take absentee ballots that are mailed to people, so if they want to drop them off at City Hall within those 46 days, they can do that. We have set up where a staff will receive them. We are the absentee ballot board. We'll receive them and accept them, and then they will get transferred or sent down to Hennepin County from there.
Perfect. Sounds good.
So, yeah, that's
brand new.
basically what it is, yeah.
Brand
yeah.
new too, because you told me about it the day it came through, and I went and asked some people at the legislature, and they weren't entirely sure about which bill it was part of and was taking effect, and I was
Election
like,
omnibus
our clerk's
bill,
on top
yeah,
of it.
I think it was signed on the 18th, so it was a very quick
Very late,
turnaround.
yeah.
Yep.
Well, good job, and I agree, I think that's awesome.
I also just want to add, so since this is a new change to this election cycle, we plan on sending out postcards to residents.
Yes, good
Just
call.
as extra communication so they know what to be aware of. And
Maybe put a little blurb on the
yeah,
newsletter.
newsletter will have
Website.
information as well, so website, social media. So we're going to try to be proactive with getting the communication out.
Love it.
Does that save any cost in terms of administering the election?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we wouldn't have to bring in any absentee any election judges to help with absentee voting, you know, and having them maybe sitting here for periods of time when no voters are coming in, so.
We still have to
we can
staff
save
it,
that
like, people
cost.
would be coming in to vote, even though I think
Yeah.
like, one time it was like 2 people came in,
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
19, or
Yeah.
whatever,
It's a
19 to
very
46
small
days, but
percentage.
you have to staff it every day, like it could be a flood of people, it just never is, it never has
Right.
been.
Probably easier to get good volunteers for a shorter window where
Yeah,
there's
I
more
would think
activity
so.
as well.
Yeah,
Excellent. I love to see local control. So
me too.
Can I add one thing?
Sure.
I would say that there could be, because it's like so new and there might be a lot of people interested in it, we could have a big influx of voters those 18 days. Still.
Yes, and I saw that with the last election for sure. I mean, and we really got hit hard the day before election day, so I think that's the period they would come. We could be better equipped and ready to go for those 18
Yep.
days as opposed to the 60, or the 46 days out.
I 100% agree. Perfect. Alrighty.
Great.
Want to make a motion on that?
I will make a motion to approve item 6C, the 2026 election absentee voting period.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Perfect, that passes unanimous. And then 6G, Jeremy.
I pulled 6G. This is accepting public improvements in 2 of Ravinia's divisions. I pulled it because some of the trails that have had invasive willow damage them are part of this section. And I just want to vet again with Attorney Thames here. We've had a lot of discussions about this issue. It's been a warranty issue that delayed our ability to accept in the past. They redid them, I think, a year ago, and now they're damaged again. So it makes me want to ask the question, has the warranty period been satisfied? Has the warranty expectation been satisfied? Should the city, or could the city, go after the developer for those additional repairs or permanent improvements? Or is this a case where there's suitable case law or legislation that would bar us from holding them responsible to turn over a stable amenity?
Can I clarify that
Please.
and help your question? So I just want to be clear, probably didn't, so this is actually accepting the work and then it goes into warranty.
Okay.
So just a clarifying point there.
Thank
I
you.
guess I would modify my question slightly then. Is it okay, is it necessary for us to accept the work when we already have defects in the work?
So, Mayor and Council, you don't have a definitive obligation to take it if there are things that defects that you've identified that don't meet the standards. But putting in the warranty won't prohibit you from seeking remedy for those during that period. So I think, it's not something that you want to, you'll run into issues with maintenance over the course of its useful life anyway. Some of them will be your responsibility that will get turned over. So if there are fundamental problems with it, that's one thing. If it's sort of general wear and tear, it doesn't necessarily make any sense to delay it. But your remedy isn't compromised by taking this action. You're simply putting it into the warranty period, and then staff will evaluate, what it looks like during that period and whether any fixes are necessary, and would have security to access to correct those if needed.
So let me add on to that. I think one of the areas Jeremy might be talking about, if not, it's also an area, I don't know which phase it's in specifically, but I know I'm sure there's more, but I know there's one area of trail where, you know how that whatever plant was growing through all over, where it started popping through again, and I kind of leaned over to touch it, and the sidewalk just crumbled into pieces. And that's by, kind of, if you keep going, I could draw it for you on a map.
It's where what you mentioned the last meeting, the
Yeah.
more central part of the development.
Yep, where it
That
goes
is
right
not-
up by someone's house.
Yep, so if you go north on Bridle Path, if you're going up to that cul-de-sac to
Yep.
existing homes, it's the trail kind of just south of the existing homes on the north central part of the development, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
Where the
At
bench
least
goes like
there,
that.
yeah.
That's actually in the Ravinia, 4th edition. It's
Okay.
not in these editions. So the 5th does not have any trails. The
Okay.
1st has trails, and there's 2 small small spots, kind of between, just east of, on Gleason Parkway, just east of the clubhouse.
And we could address those in warranty, correct?
Yeah, and they're within a 6 to 12 inches on the edge, and they're just starting to pop through, so they're not as severe as the ones you were describing. They are penetrating. It is it's a maintenance issue, really. I mean, ruts is something that Ravinia first was built in 2013 or 2014. So you're talking about a 12-year-old trail. So if someone were to walk up to me and say, is that acceptable for a 12-year-old? In my judgment, we can accommodate that. But that's, but just trying to explain what we're talking about, at least as it relates to the first and the fifth. It is something that we're going to have to invest in. 12 years ago, we have some things we can do differently. We've contacted Three Rivers, are trying different solutions. There's going to be spots that we just fight routinely. We're just going to have to build into our budget patching those spots and trying to come up with ways. Three Rivers, you get into some bad spots, and Three Rivers fights them all the time too. So we probably have 3 bad spots that are probably going to be problematic. We can try different things over the long run in Virginia. I think definitely, we've talked about this before, being a little more aggressive on mowing back the vegetation sooner would probably help keep the plants down. Once they get that large, it's problematic.
Bolt a iron plate.
Yeah, we have actually added all that stuff, but they're just so aggressive.
Yeah.
It's hard for everyone. So I think the biggest adjustment that we didn't do 12 years ago was really mowing that back, because we do have pressure when we mow back. There's opinions that we shouldn't be mowing anything back and maintaining it. So we're trying to thread that needle, but I think we're going to implement a more. I mean, even when we take over this, you'll see us more aggressively mowing back, especially those problem areas.
Gotcha.
So we can reduce the amount of patching we have and try different things over time. But that could happen again next year, because we're only going to patch what's damaged, and it's an issue that's kind of ongoing. And actually, most places, and I would include this, that's more of a maintenance issue than like a settlement, right? Like if there's a pothole and a settle, that's a structural issue. This is like a nuisance issue, and that falls more under the realm of maintenance. So that's the recommendation with the 2 small areas. That's the recommendation in front of you, is that it didn't meet that threshold, in my opinion. But
as long as we can.
But it is, just to be clear, this is putting it into warranty. We have a 1-year warranty on streets, so we would have another 1 year to decide if we wanted to pursue any warranty, if you accepted it tonight.
Just to press a little bit deeper, the fact that it's damage coming from an invasive species, how does that impact the maintenance issue versus a design and establishment system or problem?
Maybe you can ask the question a different way. I'll just say, 14 years ago, I don't think we knew that spear vegetation even existed. Honestly, it's kind of new, relatively new, so we didn't have that issue known when we went into Ravinia. I don't know if that's your question, but if you want to ask it again.
Well, what I heard you say is, because the trail is old, it's not unusual to see damage to the trail. I think what's unique in this case is the damage isn't caused by weathering or settling or soil changes. It's caused by an invasive species that no one has been able or tried to remove from these areas. And so does that make it more of a developer responsibility at this point in the acceptance path, because it is not a normal plant to exist in this climate, and it has never been fully remediated?
I don't believe we had, maybe you can add on to it, I don't believe it makes a difference from my judgment, but if there's something that you're aware of.
Excuse me, no, I would say actually that sort of influences probably more in the city's direction, because it's not an installation defect, they put it over an area in a wrong way, in a way that it settled or something along those lines. It's something that the condition was unknown to all parties involved and arose as a sort of a long-term maintenance issue. So we can't hold them to a standard different than if we had installed it ourselves. So I think that it's fair that if during that warranty period, we discover some areas where the installation was faulty and there's evidence of that, that would definitely be something that would, a warranty claim would follow. But if it's just kind of the routine maintenance, even with the unforeseen condition, probably falls under the city's maintenance category.
Okay. So if we had had a different standard in place because we knew about something like this, it might be a different consideration.
If there had been, yeah, if the contractor, for example, had been directed to take this into account and didn't, or something like that, didn't meet the specs, that would be different. To me, that would be an installation defect that you wouldn't have to put it into warranty, and you probably would have them fix that or draw upon a security to do it yourself. But without that, you're asking them to kind of know what nobody knew at that point. So I think you take the maintenance issues as they come from that point, and if we consider this to be in that category, it'd be tough to have them correct that overall, I think.
Okay.
Want to make a motion?
No.
No? All right, I will make a motion to approve consent agenda item 6C. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
3-1. Let's see, nothing for 7. Planning. 8A, Kearney Orchards preliminary plat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, item 8A tonight is the Kearney Orchards preliminary plat. This is a request from Olipa LLC for the approval of a preliminary plat to allow the development of Kearney Orchards. The subject property is located at 20400 County Road 30. The subject property is currently zoned rural residential and guided for rural/ag residential uses. The proposed development would consist of 7 residential lots and 1 outlot on a 61-acre site. The subject property is located outside of the 2040 Metropolitan Urban Service Area, but for context, the 2040 MUSA boundary actually runs along the eastern boundary of the site, just next door. The property currently contains 7 development rights, and the applicant is proposing to use all of the available development rights for the creation of 7 single-family lots. It's worth noting that the outlot would not receive any development rights as it is unbuildable due to size. It's being used as a stormwater basin, and it's also being used to accommodate the alignment of the proposed street so that the intersection would align directly across the way from Duffney Drive to the south. The table shown on the screen, and I apologize for the small font, is the minimum lot size requirements for the rural residential zoning district. And I won't go through all of them, but where it's green, it shows that the proposed lots meet that specific standard. And without going through all of them, all the proposed lots meet all of the minimum dimensional requirements of the rural residential zoning district, as well as principal structure setbacks with all the proposed lots. As mentioned earlier, the development would construct a paved north-south public street that would serve all of the proposed lots within the development and would align with Duffney Drive at the intersection of County Road 30. Access is subject to all applicable county requirements, which in their memo for the application did include the installation of, or which their comment included a possibility that this development may include installation of turn lanes. So that's something that the developer would have to work with the county to confirm those requirements. The plat is also identifying a future east-west roadway between Block 1 and Block 2, which would serve that parcel to the west as it redevelops in the future. So as a condition of approval, we would just want that the plans to be updated to show that that road would be stubbed to the west, just showing how we normally show most developments, that barricade showing that that's a future connection street so that it doesn't come as a surprise for residents in that neighborhood in the future. In 2024, a wetland delineation was done on the property, and it identified 5 wetlands in total. But since that wetland delineation was done, The property was divided through an administrative process through the state requirements, so the farmstead today is on its own separate parcel from the subject site that we're discussing today. So all that to say that there's just 3 wetlands that are within the boundaries of the proposed plat in front of you tonight. Wetlands are regulated by the Wetland Overlay District, which includes buffers, monuments, and a 15-foot structural setback. Going through the wetland classification map in the comprehensive plan, it shows that all the wetlands are classified as medium quality. So as a condition of approval, the applicant will be required to certify all of the buffer widths of the wetland buffers and comply with the requirements of the medium quality wetlands in the Wetland Overlay District in the zoning ordinance. Wetland buffer signs are also required at each lot line that crosses a buffer, any contour of the buffer, and any interval that exceeds 200 feet. The proposed site plan shows wetland buffers signs in all of the appropriate locations, except there is a missing wetland buffer sign between lots 4 and 5. So as a condition of approval, that would just need to be updated to show a wetland buffer sign in that location. And then also as a condition of approval, wetland buffer establishment plan will need to be provided to ensure compliance with that wetland buffer overlay district. Landscaping requirements for subdivisions requires 1 overstory tree per dwelling unit. No more than 33% of the required number of trees can be of the same species. The landscaping plan that was provided by the applicant does show 1 tree per lot, but does not identify the specific species. So as a condition of approval, the applicant will need to revise that plan to identify the tree species to confirm compliance with that requirement. And then as part of the final plat approval, if the preliminary plat is approved tonight, public safety will review the need for an overhead street light with final plat review, the final plat review process. Each lot does contain a perimeter drainage and utility easement that is consistent with the city's policy. However, the drainage and utility easement on Lot 6, Block 2 is going to need to be revised to encompass the entirety of the 100-year flood elevation that's located on the property. And then there is that stormwater pond that's located on the outlot that I mentioned earlier. In the applicant's materials, they did not specify who would be responsible for the maintenance of that pond. So as a condition of approval, the outlot must either be owned and maintained by an HOA or subject to a deed restriction that would assign maintenance responsibilities of that pond to 1 or more of the lots within that development. But staff will continue to work with the applicant to ensure responsibilities are established before final plat approval. Going into the trail discussion, the 2040 Parks and Trails Plan does show an off-road trail going through the middle of the site that would follow the contours of the wetland in the northwestern corner of the site, and is shown in the plan as connecting north to the Hillside Drive neighborhood. However, in reviewing the subdivision documents for those applications or for those developments to the north, staff wasn't able to locate any trail easements through those residential properties, which would make constructing a trail through that area very difficult. And with the absence of a potential redevelopment of those properties, it's very unlikely that the city would be able to get a trail easement through that neighborhood. So as an alternative, staff believes that a connection to the northeast would provide a more practical location for future extension of the trail rather than just a dead end to the back of an existing neighborhood. Contextually, the neighboring property to the east is a 72-acre farmstead that is located within the MUSA and is much more likely to develop in the near future than the existing neighborhoods to the north. And also that neighboring property on the other side abuts the Hope Meadows development, which does contain a portion of the Diamond Lake Regional Trail. So staff finds that this is a more logical and advantageous location for that trail to connect to. And the Parks and Trails Commission reviewed this connection point in their March meeting and voted to recommend approval of that revised trail connection to the northeast corner there. And as discussed earlier, the 2040 park plan does depict the trail along the wetland complex on the west side of the proposed parcel. And the contours of the wetland does contain some pretty significant topography. Specifically at the bottom side of the bluff there is the wetlands and significant floodplains. So there's a lot of challenges for constructing a trail within floodplains, and it is infeasible to actually construct it in that location. So if the trail were to follow the contours of the wetland, they should be constructed at the top of the bluff rather than the bottom of the bluff. But if constructed at the top of the bluff, that would require grading within an existing mature tree line that would result in removal of some mature trees. Just looking at the site, it's anticipated that a portion of those trees in this area are either already dead or distressed. So before final plat approval, if this is the alignment that the council chooses, a formal tree survey would be required prior to finalization of that trail agreement. And with that tree survey, staff would want to analyze and assess the types of trees and the health of everything that's in that corridor. And if there are significant or healthy trees identified with that survey, the final trail alignment should be adjusted to avoid disturbance as much as possible. Alternatively, a concept drawing was presented to the Parks and Trails Commission on their March 19th meeting. This was just a sketched drawing that was presented at that meeting, so staff wasn't able to conduct an actual thorough review at that meeting. However, there were some concerns that were identified in that Parks and Trails staff report. Staff recommended that it follow the contours of the wetland that's consistent with the 2040 Parks Plan. But after hearing testimony from the applicant, the Parks and Trails Commission recommended approval of the developer's preferred route along the eastern side of the property. But since that meeting, the applicant has provided more detailed plans for this alignment. And staff was able to conduct an in-depth review and noted a number of concerns that are outlined in more detail in that second engineering report that's attached to the staff report for this application. But a couple of the concerns identified were the lack of ADA compliant pedestrian landings at the roadway crossings. There's a proposed slope within the trail alignment that would exceed the maximum allowable slope for the city's trail designs that would require some significant grading on the backsides of Lot 3 that would impact, would have a number of impacts for the revisions for that grading plan. There's insufficient curve radii that don't meet the trail design standards. And then the trail location along Lot 6 would actually separate the primary septic site from the home itself. So there would be the connection to the septic site from the house would actually run underneath the trail and the trail easement, and there are concerns with long-term maintenance for that. And this is just a copy of that slide, but it shows the more engineered plans just for additional reference. I can get my pointer out here. The primary septic site that was mentioned is this gray box with the P in the middle, and the proposed home site is off to the top left corner of the screen. So as the council discusses this application, they should also provide direction on the two proposed alignments as part of the decision process. The exhibit on the screen, it doesn't show the color super well, but the red line on the western side is the staff recommended alignment, and the blue line on the right side of the screen is the developer proposed alignment.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
While we're on this topic, just a real quick question. Dwight, you mentioned there are curve radius concerns with the blue highlighted path. Would there also be a curve radius concern on the red path in that upper left-hand corner? Okay. Are we okay with that, or would that need to get
That would
adjusted
need
as
to
well?
be adjusted,
Okay.
but it's, I think, an easier adjustment up in that location. But yes, that would have to meet a radius.
Okay, thank you.
If I can ask a quick
Go for it.
question too, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
We've always, in the areas that have developed out on the western side of town here, Bechtold Farms, the property around Public Works, and then the property next to Birchfield School, all of those trails that were proposed in all of those followed the wetlands, followed the contour of the wetlands and the creek beds and those kind of things. We've never varied from that. If I'm not correct, please tell me. So our staff's recommendation is the easterly one, and the developer wants to bisect the property and then go up the east, or the east side, excuse me. Did I just say that wrong?
I think
No, you
council, or no,
you got it.
staff was on the west side.
Staff is on the west,
Okay.
and the developer is bisecting the property and then going up the eastern boundary, which is farmland. There's nothing there, correct? I mean, it's not.
It's not much of a trail.
Yeah, and I thought we've been pretty clear on stuff like that. Outside the Musa and stuff, we'd follow the wetlands or the creek beds or those kind of things as a pretty cool amenity as our city grows in the future. So, okay, thank you.
Yeah, as part of the 2040 comprehensive plan, the Parks and Trails chapter does identify goals for trail networks that are established with each development, and one of those goals is to follow the natural amenities that are present in Corcoran. So staff believes that the trail following the wetland would be in alignment with that goal and is in alignment with the overall plan.
So then you also said that Parks and Trails approved the trail corridor, so to speak, that's proposed by the developer going east-west and then cutting around and following that easterly border? Is that what was said?
They
Or did I-
recommended approval of that alignment from a conceptual drawing that was presented at that meeting.
Okay.
But since then, we were actually able to conduct a more thorough analysis. So
Yeah,
that
I
doesn't change the recommendation, but they didn't review the plan that's in front of, that's on the screen right now.
Okay.
They reviewed the sketch drawing.
Yeah, the blue line is
Yep,
much, it's not much different, but it has that wave on lot 6 more than it showed on the concept drawing that was presented to Parks and Trails.
okay.
What
So
was appealing to Parks and Trails?
what did they like about it? Yeah.
What was appealing to Parks and Trails about the one that they approved?
That's an excellent question. I believe that they had heard the testimony from the applicant at that meeting and felt that it was reasonable to adjust the location of the trail. And the applicant is present today if he wants to speak on the reasoning behind that. But from an actual use standpoint, I don't think that they thought that there was, improved uses or improved experiences on the eastern side rather than the western side. I think they were deferring to the testimony from the applicant.
Any other questions for staff? You want to hear from the applicant?
I think I cut Dwight off. Do you have more to talk about? That was it?
That was it.
Wow, I waited till the end. Holy cow.
I got more of the
He's learning.
presentation, but I didn't have more to your point, Mel.
Keep
Okay.
going.
So going into park dedication requirements, park dedication is based on the net land area of the site. As a reminder, net land area is the gross land area minus wetlands and areas below the 100-year high water level and right-of-way. So staff did some analysis, and these numbers would need to be verified by the applicant, but staff estimates that the net land area would be around 24.6 acres. With the proposed trail alignment that's shown, I guess in the red trail and not the blue trail, dedication of 5% of the net land area. I'm sorry, I went out of order. This would be for residential developments, it requires dedication of 5% of the net land area, which would be 1.23 acres. The red trail alignment that's shown on the previous screen is an easement area of about, 0.34 acres, which would satisfy 27.7% of the dedication requirements, meaning that the remaining park dedication shall be satisfied in cash in lieu of land. So park dedication fees for single-family units is $5,954 per unit. So 7 single-family units times that fee is $41,678, with the satisfied park dedication requirements through the trail easement. That would bring that remaining cash due down to $30,000, give or take $100.
Can I ask a question on that one?
Sure.
It's nice when we get a chance to get easements that are a bit wider and capture more opportunity for high-quality green space. Was it considered whether it might make sense to go for a broader easement in this case, going wider, and then having ability to do more plantings over time, or having more of a greenway approach? And how wide might we be able to go with the 5% area?
I believe our standard is set in code in terms of how wide we take on the trails. Where we have taken wider corridors, it's been in conjunction with typically at like planning and development, where there's been more of a negotiation, or Three Rivers, their corridors, they like to, where we can negotiate where we can, but as far as requiring it, that's, I don't, James can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's not something that we can do. We'd have to look at our trail standards if we wanted a wider corridor, and that would have implications for our trail dedication, or not trails, but the park dedication fee overall. So it's just a balancing act. We can certainly look at it, but there's requiring it as part of the straight plat is not something we can do. If they wanted to give us more, we could, but that has not been a part of the discussion.
I saw John nodding along, so,
Yeah, Mayor and Council, that's well stated. That's correct.
okay, thank you.
So just in summary, the Planning Commission reviewed the request against all applicable requirements of the subdivision and zoning ordinance and found that the proposal satisfies all of those requirements. So staff and the Planning Commission recommend approval of the preliminary plat with the conditions outlined within the staff report. The Parks and Trails Commission reviewed a conceptual alignment of the proposed trail and recommended approval of the developer's proposed alignment. However, since that meeting, additional information was provided to staff and a more thorough analysis was done. And after conducting said analysis, staff recommends that the trail alignment along the contours of the wetland be the approved alignment.
Okay. That's everything?
That is everything.
Any questions for Dwight? Any additional questions? Thames or Natalie?
Can you make a motion?
Sure, do we want to hear from the applicant at all?
I'd like to, because Parks and Trails made a decision and stuff based off of what the applicant said. I'd like to hear what the applicant said.
Okay.
I don't know if it'll change my mind as far as the western trail alignment, but I would like to hear and understand
Sure.
what the parks were thinking.
Okay. Come on.
All right, thank you all. Thanks staff for the multiple versions of the trail planning. It's definitely, I mean, there's a lot of layers to this, a lot of complexity, so thank you for the opportunity to share what actually my wife shared with the Parks Commission. And, we do have a personal attachment to this property. We want to build on this
we don't build trails in wetlands. So I'm not sure what you're talking about. It's the same thing that happened over by Public Works. We did not put a trail in wetlands. We did it next to. Dwight was commenting that there is some, it's obviously woods and it's a line of woods and stuff, but the number of the trees are failing and those kind of things. A possible cleanup and stuff is something that may happen in the future and stuff, but we don't build in wetlands. So I don't understand the properties that we've done on Beckhold Road or Beckhold Farms and stuff. We tore none of the wetlands up. We tore none of the trees down for that parkway or anything. We built along the edge. So I'm not sure what we're saying there. So I'm sorry I interrupted. I just
No,
something's not right.
Yeah, and I'm happy to clarify that point, is so the original comprehensive plan, in order to get out of the wetlands, which I think everybody, to your point, nobody wants to try to build in the wetlands, so to move it up and out of the slope, now moves it into that tree line that you see depicted there. So, I guess what I'm asking the council to consider is if you could go to the plan, somebody could, would you mind showing the plan that the Parks Commission approved, the yellow one? Is it okay if I just point at the screen up here?
Sure.
All right. Didn't want to make you nervous.
Okay, I'm not afraid.
This is what I would ask the council to consider, is I don't think this trail, Carl is here, I don't want to speak for him, I'm pretty sure there's no trail going through to these neighbors. There's no trail going north, and so what I would propose is some type of easement, and it could even be a much broader easement than normal city policy calls for. I think there's room to do all that. But an easement here that crosses the property. Now, I think at one point, there was the reason that the parks, wanted to see it go all the way up along that property line is because the idea that the trail would go north. But as I understand it, based on additional information that's been provided, really the only thing that's needed to make all this work and to remove all this complexity and all these versions is just to have an easement here that allows a trail system someday. It could be 50 years from now, it could be 100 years from now, but allow a way for the trail system to connect. If it happens sooner than that, then the easement is there. But what I would really not want to do is build a trail, tear down all these mature forests, and you know who's going to use it? It's going to be me and my kids, and whoever basically buys lot 5. It's a trail that has no connection on either end. And it's destroying something. Frankly, the destruction of all these large, nice trees is probably just as costly as the actual monetary value of the trail itself. As far as cutting down trees, I want to cut down the dead trees on my own. I mean, I know the city can do it as well, but I'd like to go through there and cultivate that forest and make it really nice, and I can do that on my own.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I'm looking at a Google map of the spot. I'm curious, what would your thoughts be rather than cutting those trees down? What if you put the trail on the inside edge of the existing tree stand? So
Yeah.
Why does the wetland need to dictate the exact placement? Could you just move it in the width of 5 feet trees?
Yeah.
And put it there instead and save all of that for the future?
Yeah, and I think I see the practicality in that. I think the further you move it up away from the wetland, you certainly accomplish, you're impacting both the wetland and the trees less. Now, I'm speaking for myself. I want to be out in Corcoran, out on a big acreage parcel. I'd hate to put, I want to have a backyard where the kids can run around in the sprinkler. I don't necessarily want, once that trail gets up really close to my window, it kind of starts to really impact, I guess you could say myself as the homeowner or the resident there. So that's the only calculus there, is that I think that the further you get up and away from the wetland, it starts to really impact. Whereas this, you can see where this would be a lot easier to work with.
It doesn't look like it would be closer on that west side than it would with the eastern image. That seems
Sorry,
pretty
say that.
similar to me.
Oh, you mean the distance between?
Yeah, like if I'm
Right.
looking at, this is between the tree line and the home site, or
Yeah.
this spot in the home site. It appears to be half of
It,
the one.
yeah, you're right, it is equidistant. I mean, there's a strategic reason to put that house kind of where it is. I think the idea is that, to the west, probably not, but to the east, there's gonna be a future development there anyway. And to me, I don't, like, I love trails. In fact, someday if that trail, the yellow one, if that gets connected and it's a beautiful amenity, it's out in my front yard. But, cause there's gonna be probably a pretty good sized development going in on that side anyway. So I'm kind of mentally preparing a home plan. And so now you kind of get sandwiched between the big high density development to the east and then the trail. And it just you're kind of sandwiched between those two. So that's why we asked for the other.
What is that parcel to the east guided again?
Mixed residential, so it'll be higher density. I can't remember the plan, but I think it's 8 to 10 acre. And then one thing just to add, at the largest width of that tree line can be as much as 120 feet wide. So I think there's a lot of room to either put it on that west side, as you said, or even if you wanted a little bit more privacy, I think there's still room to keep some of the trees and still have a trail corridor through there, which is what you want, really. You want those, where you can, you want it to have those natural features such as a mature tree line where you can have it. And yeah, I think that was just one of the points. And then just keep in mind that the other alignment proposed by the developer, while it might have theoretically less impact to his lot, it would cut through, what are the two lots where it cuts through on the side there?
The lots 4 and 5.
4 and 5, so those are smaller lots where it would cut through significantly on their side. So it's just, where are we having the impact? Is it on the larger lot already, or where we can maybe hide some of the impact of trees? Or are we putting it right through people's side yard?
The 8 to 10 units would have a pretty substantial buffer yard requirement up against rural residential, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. I guess, to me, it seems to make sense to keep it to the west, because for future trail users, they probably won't want to be up against the 8 to 10 density either. But I could definitely see trying to be careful in the design of the easement so that we preserve as much as possible to the degree that we can get agreement. Would the trail actually be constructed, or are we just taking easement at this point?
So the plan is that this would be constructed as part of the development. Deferring it to a future date, an unknown date, would mean that that's the city's taking on that project for a future trail construction, and typically we want to try and have the developer pay for the improvements.
Do it when it happens. Is there a way where we could still secure financing, but defer the actual construction into the future when there's an opportunity to connect it?
I think that could potentially create a funding gap since the construction costs are continually rising. So if they provided the funds now, they could construct the trail for today's costs, but if it were constructed in 5 years or 10 years when that property to the east develops, that would be a funding gap. Staff wouldn't recommend that.
And just real quick, sorry, Jeremy, if you're
No,
not.
no.
Already, Caramini Meadows, Bechtold Farms, those kind of things, the trails are in?
So it's not, so I would say part of our rural, I'm sorry, okay.
Somebody,
Part of the rural
it's okay.
area of the city, there have been times where we have just taken easement for now when it's very unlikely that we are going to see a trail system in the foreseeable future.
Right.
But the property to the east is pretty prime to go. As soon as they are ready to go, they can. And then we have to the east of that Hope where a trail system is going in. So that one's much more inevitable.
So it's
than
something
part
that
of-
would be built pretty quick.
Relatively speaking, as far as these things go.
But I'm going old developments, Bechtold Farms, the trail is there or
We
not?
just took easement on Bechtel
took
Farms,
Bechtel
and there was a
Easement.
very small sliver.
Okay, and then Caramini Meadows is one by Public Works, there's trails and stuff, is that trail in?
Not been
Not-
constructed yet, but that was a one-off in like natural trail. So
Right.
that was on the comp plan, and there was discussion about whether they build it or not, and the kind of compromise was to build it natural trail.
Okay,
Because it really kind of just connects up, and then in that case, it was built in the floodplain, not a wetland. I just want to clarify to the public.
yeah,
We don't build trails in wetlands.
right,
We don't really want them in floodplains, but in that specific case, it was very intentional that we had the
We knew it
developer
would-
build
it
a
could.
natural trail, basically,
Yep.
a grass trail, through that corridor for a specific intention. But otherwise, rural, like far western areas, we've just taken easements.
okay.
Yeah, just to clarify, I think further, I think you touched on it, but part of the reason why the natural trail on Kearney Meadows did move forward right away, again, was because there's a trail system there.
Yep,
So
the
timing
Tree
was-
River is over on that
Yeah,
long
so
19 and
it's a
everything else.
Similar idea
Okay.
here, where we think there is a much more near navigability and ability of trail system to connect to.
Any other questions? I think I agree with what you were saying completely, Jeremy, about the western alignment making more sense for a number of reasons, logistically and just layout-wise. Other than that, any other questions for the applicant?
So with the way the resolution is drafted now, would it allow for some wiggling of that western alignment to minimize tree impact, or do you need modification?
That's included as part of the current resolution, yes.
Yeah, that they're required to do a tree survey, and if there's a significant tree, they have to adjust. So we want to preserve mature quality trees.
It's my goal too. Yep. Okay.
Michelle, did you want to make a motion? I know you did
Sure.
earlier.
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 202633, approving preliminary plat for Kearney Meat Orchards on the property located at PID 11-119-2321-0007, with the recommendation of staff and planning commission.
Do we have a second?
Wait. Staff and Planning Commission had different recommendations, didn't they?
Parks and Trails.
Parks and
Parks.
Trails.
Oh,
Right,
sorry,
right.
sorry,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
It's right there in front of you, Sharon, come on,
Yeah.
read the screen.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
4-0. And then on to no unfinished business, new business. We have a request for exemption from a rental license capacity.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
could we take just a 5-minute recess?
Sure. Yep, let's
sorry.
take a recess. We'll convene at 8:20 on recess. call the meeting back to order. And we will pick back up with 10A, which is the request for exemption from the rental license capacity.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this item under new business is a request from Sudhakar Vinapusa. I apologize if that's incorrect. Who's requesting an exemption from the rental dwelling license capacity requirements of the Walcott Glen neighborhood to allow his property at 6257 Larger Lane to be used for rental operations. For context, last month, the applicant came to approach the city and asked for this exemption with a narrative that his wife and their 2 children recently moved back to India due to some health-related concerns, and the applicant had stated that he and his wife used to pay the mortgage together, but since she is no longer in the country, he is having to pay the mortgage himself and contributing for payments for their living expenses over in India. The applicant had further stated that he contacted multiple brokers and direct sale companies with offers that were either below market value or did not receive any final written offers for the property. And because of these circumstances, the applicant is requesting an exemption from the rental dwelling license capacity for this block to rent the property. I can put up the section of code on the screen, but the rental dwelling license chapter, is it not showing up? The rental dwelling license chapter does allow for an exemption from the capacity limits. So for specific cases of financial hardship, and this is a request that would be made to the council, and if the council finds that the request demonstrates that there is a financial hardship present, they may grant an exemption from that rental capacity limit. So I provided a staff report with some of the previous correspondence, the capacity limits for the block, and just some of the documentation that the applicant provided. So right now, staff identified 3 options. One would be to approve the request, or I guess direct staff to approve the request. If it's approved, we would want to come back with a formalized resolution so that it is in the written record and it's easy to track going forward. Or deny the request for the exemption, or continue the request and direct the applicant to provide any additional information as you see fit for that decision. And the applicant is here today to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Or Dean?
Correct me, anybody please. Didn't we have the same kind of thing in this general area of a couple came and wanted to, they actually owned 2 parcels and they wanted to rent the other one, but it was already at capacity?
Wanted to buy one.
Yeah.
They hadn't bought it yet,
Buy one and
and they wanted to rent it.
were living in one close by or in that general area too?
I'm not sure about
Or
which
they
one.
wanted to buy one there,
They were
rent
investors.
it, still they were going to do something 2 years. So there's no comparison to that.
Yeah, they didn't have
Compared
financial
to this.
hardship, they just wanted an exemption.
Okay. That was it, thanks. I was just trying to refresh my memory on that one.
I did a little bit of background checking, and there are 3 recent sales in this general area where people were able to sell between $390,000 and I think $440,000. And I know from the narrative and what Dwight shared that there was an attempt to solicit direct purchases from the kinds of companies that would buy and then try to resell. But it doesn't appear that the property has actually been put up for sale yet. I guess what I would want to see is a measure of financial hardship. When we drafted this ordinance, we wanted to give people an opportunity to get an exemption if there had been a major market downturn and they couldn't sell the home, they couldn't afford the home, and it was threatening their financial well-being to be able to not rent it. What I would see as missing in this case is there wasn't an effort to sell and evidence that it was not able to be sold at a reasonable price. So that's what I would want to see before I would grant an exemption. I would also like to think through what we would do to unwind the exemption. So if we add an extra license in this case, we would likely get similar requests in the future. You know, somebody has some financial change. The market isn't in major recession. We don't have a housing bubble, something like that happening. Would we want to grant this kind of an exemption to every person who has a life change? And I would say probably not. That's not really what the carve-out was intended for.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
First, I don't know why the city is even involved in this, but first, sir, could you step on up here? I just have a couple of questions for you.
Yeah, sure.
Where does your wife work?
My wife was working here. She moved to India because she has some health concerns, and
Yeah,
also her parents.
Where does she work right now?
She's not working now.
She's not working
No.
at Accenture?
No.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Okay.
She went to India.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But Accenture has an office in India, and according to your wife's LinkedIn, that's where she's working.
No, she was working in Eurofins, not Accenture.
That what?
Eurofins.
Okay,
It's a company, Eurofins.
Okay.
Yep.
So she's not working at Accenture like it says on her LinkedIn profile?
No, no.
Okay. How many rental properties do you own?
This is the one which I am currently living
No,
in.
no, no. My question is, how many rental properties do you own right now?
I do have Shoreview, one property that I gave rental because that time me and my wife wanted to shift it to Vizata school district. So I gave that property to rent. Then I came here because, I couldn't able to pay the money. My wife was not well. She moved to India. I couldn't able to pay the EMI and the HOA. It's costing me around $3,600 per month.
So you
My
own-
mortgage
so
and
You
HOA.
own two homes.
Yeah, the one which I'm not getting in benefit, that time I took the Shoreview home and I gave it to rental, just paying for the EMI. I'm not doing anything business here.
Okay, but you own two homes.
Yeah,
That's correct,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Okay. I called a realtor, and neither of these properties have ever been on the MLS since you bought them.
I-
So have you tried to sell these properties?
I called few brokers directly, like Open Door, and they couldn't even make me an offer for that.
Okay.
Yep,
Have you marketed the homes on MLS? Because according to the realtor I spoke with this afternoon, they said no, that neither home has ever been listed on the MLS.
I directly talked to the few brokers, as I said. I also sent you one email copy to Dwight as evidence. Even they couldn't send me the hard copy also. They said that we can't provide you the hard copy. They sent in the email copy. Yeah. They said that it's some business reasons we can't provide you the offer also.
Okay. I guess my last question is,
Yep.
what does this have to do with us? Why would we get involved in this? If you bought a home you can't sell, why is that our problem?
Because the rental
If
cap,
you own two houses, you could sell one, right?
I tried, but I couldn't able to because of market situation.
Well, you couldn't because you didn't want to accept the offer, right?
It's very below the market price. And even I tried to sell it.
But you didn't list it to sell it.
I tried to call few brokers and I provided the Open Door email copy also. They couldn't even give me the price also, what they are going to offer it. Because there are so many new homes are constructed in the Pulte, Walcott and Gown.
But it's never been on the market. Right?
It's not
It's
been,
okay, you can say yes, that's true.
that's true, but that's what, I called them few brokers. They said that considering the market, there are brand new homes are
Call a
constructing.
realtor?
Yep, I like a Open Door, I called some brokers online.
I'm not saying a broker, I'm saying, did you call a realtor to list it?
Oh, no.
Yeah, okay. I don't have any other questions, but at this time, I'd like to make a motion to deny the application, or to deny the request.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I think you should reach out to a realtor. You'll probably have success selling directly to another person rather than to somebody who's going to try to buy it from you and then sell to another person.
I don't know how it works.
Well, just drive around the neighborhood, you'll see a bunch of realtor signs.
See,
in people's
the
yards.
reason is that some people are directly buying, they're not even living in the home, they're directly giving the rental to. That's where we are getting affected because of the 15% rental cap. I purchased a home in 2024, I almost lived 2 years here. Because of my wife was not well, that is the reason I am thinking to rental, otherwise we would have stayed here.
If you're looking for a realtor, I would just drive around. You'll find a bunch of them in the neighborhood. Call 3, see what they say.
I tried selling it with my friends, relative also. Some of them already they purchased a home. That's where the reason I came from Shoreby to here, because most of my family members are here. And because of health reasons.
But you still own the property in Shoreview, so you didn't leave there to come here. You still own 2 houses.
It's not like,
Is that true?
because, yes, that, because of my daughter and son, they wanted to study in the Vizata school. That's where we moved here.
Okay.
And also.
So because of that choice.
Yeah. And also my close relatives are also here in the Vizata school, here in the Ravinia. That's where we moved here because we all wanted to have together. And also my wife is not well. We tried to keep her for 6 months, but somehow she couldn't able to handle things. And unfortunately, I couldn't able to take care of my family as well. That's the reason.
Okay.
I tried all my best possibilities.
Well, you tried everything except for selling the second house that you own.
That I tried.
And
I
think
tried,
more
but I
important,
couldn't able.
Jeremy's suggestions are good. Yep. Suggestions. Question, procedurally question. There was 3 options: approval, denial, or get information. If denial was voted on and passed, is there any sort of timeline for not coming back with another application, or if you were able to provide further information, could he come in and request it still?
Within the ordinance as it's currently written, there's not a time requirement after the exemption request is denied.
Okay.
I think it would be helpful for the council to identify what, so the idea is the council would reconsider if it's been on the market for 2-3 months without any offers. If that's what would trigger the financial hardship exemption, I think that'd be helpful feedback.
That seems reasonable to me,
Yeah,
that we
that
would
seems-
consider it at that point. But not without even being marketed. That doesn't make sense to me.
But I think Mark made a point. This is a private matter. I don't want to get into real estate brokerage and all that stuff. I'd rather not do this.
We did specifically have a carve out for those who were not able to sell the property after an honest attempt. So I think the idea is you do want to give people some avenue, but I think the idea is it enough that he contacted a few brokers without actually putting it on the market? I think what we're hearing is no, that's not enough.
But I would think, yeah, putting it on for a couple months, seeing the responses, maybe hearing from a realtor, if it doesn't sell, why, they could write an email or come in and testify, come to council on behalf with you or something like that.
Well, I'll amend my motion then. I would like to see it aggressively marketed for no less than 6 months before he can come back. And secondly, I don't know why we're even involved in this. I don't know why someone's financial shortcomings has anything to do with.
We had to put that in, we had to put a provision into the ordinance about that for.
Yeah, that was, so the whole rental density cap, there's a few cities that have done it, and the ones that have gotten court cases involved was when people have tried to put the property up for sale, weren't able to sell it, but then they weren't able to rent it, so they were left without financial recourse. So this was specifically put in to address that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Then I would say 6 months. And I do have a pending motion.
We do a pending motion, so we have a motion in a second, but then amended, so Jeremy.
I will still second.
Second on the 6 months, okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Okay.
So I would say to try to do those things, and then if you're able to put that together, come
Okay.
Assess
Okay.
that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I like the 6-month idea, Mark, because hopefully it cuts down on the number of reviews that we see. Thank you.
Can I just do a follow-up question?
I think it'll be sold. I think it'll be sold, yeah.
What's that?
So we have to have that as part of our ordinance?
We highly recommend it
Yeah.
based on the court cases that we're seeing with the other cities that have this density cap.
Because there's so many things that we can't account for in a situation like that. Like, how well is the property taken care of? I mean, it could be that the property is in disrepair,
Well, granted, if the property's in disrepair, we wouldn't issue a rental license because the property's in disrepair.
but it wouldn't be that way when we initially rented it that way. Like, I'm talking about it happens after you've moved in, they've lived there, a couple families have lived there, and now there's no funds to repair the holes in the wall, or the paint, or the carpeting that's destroyed.
But
And
we
so
wouldn't
then-
issue a
but
license
exactly.
until,
Yeah.
Right, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
so this
Yeah,
is
And they
the
couldn't
boundary,
renew.
though.
It
Yeah,
doesn't mean
they
they
couldn't
can't
renew it,
invest in the
yeah.
property because the property needs to be livable condition to get the rental license. Even if we issue an exemption
Right.
to the density rule.
But what I'm
they
saying
still
is,
have
they
to
could
get the
come
rental
back to us and say, I can't afford this anymore. Where does that leave the city then? And we have no control over what has happened to that property.
If they have a license,
They have to.
they would lose the license if they can't meet the safety inspection. If they meet the safety inspection, there's no reason for them to come to us.
Okay, great question. How often do we do safety inspections?
For every new application that we get, we do a safety inspection, and then for every renewal, we conduct another re-inspection every 3 years, or if we get concerns, if we get complaints about the maintenance of the property, we will schedule another inspection to follow up, understand what the status of the property is, and ensure that they're complying with our property maintenance standards.
Which I think that's well and good if we're assuming that the property is going to be kept well. But 3 years is a long time for someone to not have an inspection, for things to happen.
It is pretty typical for single-family homes to only be inspected once every 3 years. Brooklyn Park has a similar program, and they have several rentals. It's really about capacity, staff capacity.
Yeah.
So I think a complaint basis, like we always are, that's really helpful, and that it doesn't say that we won't inspect it, it just we won't do an automatic inspection more than once every 3 years after we've done the initial inspection. But a tenant is able to make a complaint, we can follow up at that point.
Right, which I'm totally on board with that. I understand like staffing and things like that. But I guess we're assuming that the person is going to make a good faith effort to try to sell the property. Right? And so 6 months passes and he still comes back and says, I'm sorry, I couldn't sell the property. Because
We
his
need
true
evidence
intention is
of
that he
it.
wants to rent it.
Yeah, I think we would probably, it's not, to me, it wouldn't just be enough to say, well, here, I had it up on the MLS at a
Yeah.
reasonable price. I got no
It would
offers.
be shows if there was no offers, it was priced remotely correctly, for what they were asking, or they got communications from people saying, not paying this, it's overpriced for.
It seems so much based on perception. That's what I guess I'm having a hard time with. There's no,
They're kind of testing this out, right? But
Right.
at the same time, if he lets the property fall into such disrepair and that's why it's not purchased, then he's not gonna get the rental license either.
Mhm.
So I think there's a couple checks and balances with that.
And if there's neighboring properties that are selling, that's evidence that it's not really a hardship or something with what has
True.
been done.
And
so
there
it
are
basically
lots
comes to
selling.
council decision then,
Both
is
are
what it
bad,
ends
yeah.
with.
And we would also be able to pull some of that information if we have seen recent sales in the area and what they've been selling for is that, so I think we will have some data. I think right now the missing component, and I think that is what staff have tried to communicate from previously, that it needs to get listed, needs to be on the market for some time
Yeah.
before we really think that an exemption would be considered.
Yeah.
To be fair, that's not exactly what's written in code because we wanted to be able to have some discretion. But I think tonight is very helpful, and now that we have this messaging, I think it'll be much more helpful for staff to understand what it is we're looking for.
Could I have something too? I guess, and I would want to go back and read the code about this, and maybe I should be asking the city attorney, but, you had someone who is requesting this rental waiver, but yet he owns multiple properties. And I guess, I don't know why if he has significant assets worth hundreds of thousands of dollars that he just hasn't chosen to sell, why would we even, enter into that conversation with him? I guess what I would like is, I would like a tightening of the code to require, if there are multiple properties owned by the requester, I think that they should go first instead of coming before this city. Did that make sense?
I'm not understanding what you mean by go first.
What-
They should put it on the market first? and then-
No, what I'm saying is, like in this case, guy has multiple homes, but he's crying poor, and he can't cover the mortgage. Well, then maybe he should sell maybe the other home. And I guess what I'm saying is, before we even allow someone to come in to ask what he was asking for, I think maybe there should be a requirement that, sell some of your assets if you can't pay your bills, before you take up our time.
I think I would certainly see that as evidence that he doesn't have a financial hardship.
Exactly.
There's no hardship.
Exactly.
I don't know that that would prevent him from coming to talk to us,
Yeah.
but it
Right.
should be dispositive in how
Better,
we treat it.
better said, thank you.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I just to address Councilmember Lanchman's concerns, I guess I would steer you away from too much definition on this point, because I think it's gonna provide a rigidity that you don't want. You don't know what those circumstances will be until they come through the door, and you have the discretion to evaluate them in the context in which they appear. So you can use that to make the best and most informed decision with each applicant for exemption that comes before you. But I think if you try to get into, moving assets or things like that, that's going to be really difficult.
Excellent point, message received, thank you. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. And with that, we'll move on to staff reports. Alicia,
I don't have anything further.
anyone else? Council reports. Nothing huge. We have the tractor pull on Saturday. Should be fun.
I just have one quick question.
Yeah.
Not than anything. We had talked about, some time ago, about an emerald ash tree grant. And I was just wondering if there had been any, movement towards that, or if that's something that council should be doing to search for a grant?
I know there's the grant that's I don't know that it's specifically just Emerald Ash Corp, but it's,
Because there's some smaller cities that are getting them. Like, I did a quick search, and Annandale got one, Cloquet got one.
from Hennepin, well, it wouldn't be.
They're,
from Hennepin
yeah,
County.
so it might be
To do what?
to help people take down their emerald ash trees that
I know
are,
that you have a program,
and then replant new
and
ones.
Hennepin County has
Like a
that grant
regeneration.
program that inventory, it's like phase 1 inventory, everything, phase 2 remove and replace. And I think that's for just what, any type of trees, they want to make sure that it's replacing with the same number and with tree species that are the right percentages and all that, and the right type for the area and all that. But last I heard, that was a recently added grant program to the county. I can talk to Commissioner Anderson, and I think I have the lady's name somewhere in my email or notes somewhere of who was running that or that part of Hennepin County, that grant
I'd be
department.
willing to help too.
Okay, I'll keep you posted, see if I can find out.
I think it'd be a really good way to give back something to the community, because we don't have a lot of things in Corcoran. We don't have, people that can bring their tree branches somewhere. We have to pay to get rid of it. So this would be a way to renew trees.
And
And
then,
then,
those ones I know were just for public property.
okay,
But they did tell me that there was other similar programs, I don't know if it was with them
I
or
thought
not,
there was too.
that private homeowners could apply for and get on their own. And then I believe the Met Council has a similar program, because when Hennepin County presented it at one of those mayor lunches or dinners, the Met Council rep said, oh, we have the exact same thing that we just launched. So they didn't seem to communicate that to each other, but it does seem to be duplicative funds, so should be out there. So I can reach out, I'll make a list, Judy Johnson and Kevin Anderson, and then I'll copy you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I had something too.
Yeah, go for it.
Council reports. I've had a couple people reach out to me regarding the prevalence of e-bikes running at unsafe speeds on trails. I had a little pre-meeting conversation with a couple staff members. I'd like to propose that we direct staff to generate a draft ordinance to enable police to enforce reasonable limits on age and speed and location for those kinds of assisted vehicles.
I think that's a good idea. Matt, question, so is this not covered at all in our, the vehicle ordinance we did a few years ago?
The recreational vehicle ordinance,
Yeah.
we would have to make sure that it folds in. I don't think it fully contemplates what the
So
community.
maybe be updating that to include that?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. I think it's a good idea. I've been hearing the same stuff. I would also say e-scooters is a big concern. I was talking to a family the other day and some kid came zooming by and they said, please do something about that before someone gets killed. And I mean, I think genuinely that's the way it's trending, is that kids are, they're not intentionally, but they're zooming around, a lot of times don't have a helmet on, going crazy fast on the trails and turns. And
If I can ask a good question about that, Matt, how easy is it gonna be for you to get our officers to get these folks? I'm hearing reports.
Gotta get them an e-bike.
I'm hearing reports from all over the area that the police can't chase them, they can't take their cars through the backyards and do stuff, and,
Are they licensed?
no.
Enforcement is a huge challenge for.
Yeah.
There's no
You have a
doubt.
drone follow them home?
But if we don't have the appropriate legal backing, it doesn't allow us to take any action. So I think having something on the books, with the understanding that it's really, really hard to enforce, even when, especially when you start talking about speed or age, those are things that you can't always be positioned to tell.
I think everyone understands that, but like
Yeah.
you said, to have some teeth.
How fast do they go?
Pretty fast, yeah, probably
Okay.
about 30, yeah.
Because is there like a speed threshold where they have to be licensed? Like, could you make them be licensed in our city? Because then if someone sees someone driving one, they'd be able to report it to the police, at least.
You can't always tell what there's so many modifications to them, and I mean, it gets complex pretty quickly.
Our license plate readers won't be able to read them.
Yeah, they would not, most of them don't have license plates, or wouldn't be a licensed motor vehicle unless they.
Do you need a motion to look
I think
into
as long
that,
as
or I
there's
think we
clear
all are
direction.
on the same page?
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as there's council direction.
Thumbs up?
Yep,
Yeah.
thumbs up.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Got 5 thumbs up.
Mr.
Okay, great.
Chief, it's my understanding that two of our officers, I know it was Officer Hoffman, and I apologize, I don't remember the other officer's name. They were recently honored at a chamber meeting for, I believe, a incident in which they saved at least one person's life. Officer Hoffman, Officer Lawson. I was unaware of that. I had no idea. I would have loved to have attended that. So I would ask if officers, or frankly, if any employee is going to be honored in somehow, I mean, that reflects very positively on the city. I would like to know about it. I mean, frankly, I would like those officers here at our next meeting for us to say thank you. And if someone just, someone told me about it, I'm like, what? I had no idea.
So usually, and we've had multiple in several years prior. It's at the I-94 chamber. They do like the first responders luncheon, and that's where a lot of these awards are given out. I know they changed the date a little this year, but maybe next year if we have officers that are potentially getting an award, we could. I don't know about the availability of additional tickets, but
Yeah, so typically the chamber puts on an annual event to recognize first responders in the area. And so they'll take the noteworthy events from first responders in the area. In the past, what the city has done is a supervisor and typically the mayor has gone as a city representative. But it's designed as a chamber honoring first responders has been the focus. So if we were gonna do something different, we would be somewhat of an outlier. I don't, there's elected officials there. It's typically a mayor or a council person, one person from the city. If we were gonna do something different, I think that's.
Or how about just starting with maybe when, if we could get them in a council meeting at their, you know, whenever works for their schedule, just for us to say thanks and congratulate them.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, we hear it when people have bad things to say about you. You should tell us when good things happen.
For sure.
It was a good ceremony. It was, and not just our officers, ours were great, and there was a number of awards for some really impressive life-saving stuff.
Well, I would ask if those two officers could join us for like the first, 15, 20 minutes of our next council meeting. I think we should all say thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if the next one will work. One of the officers is.
Whenever it's convenient.
Whenever works.
Has a 5-year recognition, service recognition coming up. So
Okay.
that might be a good time to do them together.
Perfect.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Anything else?
The tractor pull is a big deal, folks. Get there. I'd really like to see more of us at the public engagement forum at Hope Church.
I'm gonna do my best. I've
I
got
think we're
4 meetings at the
missing-
same time.
I think people are missing a lot of input. Granted, we got a survey, but attendance has been very poor on our behalf, folks. So I am making everyone and
I'll be there.
listening to a lot of stuff, folks, that you're missing. The survey was outstanding, really good information, but we need help passing out more information so people understand what's going on, and they don't need to hear it just from me. So a little disappointed. County Fair coming up, all the things that are happening are part of our community, so it'd be great to see folks there. Thank you.
All right, and with that, city council schedule, we kind of covered that in some of the updates, but we have the special meeting on the 3rd at 5:30 to 7. We have the previously mentioned public engagement open house at Hope on the 2nd, 6 to 7:30. And then our next council meeting is June 11th, right? No.
Yep.
No, we just don't have the times on there. But that's because we always have the same time, 7 o'clock. No work session that day? Right, because that was and then wasn't. So, next council meeting besides the special one, June 11th at 7 o'clock. And then Hennepin County Fair's on there. June 12th, we have those campus visits from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. For those, particularly for those who haven't been to the other ones. I'm gonna try to make it to as much of those as well as I can. I have been to the other ones. But I think it's valuable. It's really interesting to see some of those other cities. And then we're up to June 25th for the next meeting after that. So yeah, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.